30 years. It's been 30 years since Sonic first came to the world. In my case, 20 years. Ever since I played my first Sonic game, he's been a very important part of my life then, and he still is now. And since it's been 30 years already, and it's been a while since I've done something like this, why not we discuss my history of Sonic the Hedgehog? The only way to start something like this is through the beginning. Now, there was a time where I never owned my own console. Mostly just play games from relatives. However, I will be given my own game console thanks to my aunt. And the two games that she would give me would be WrestleMania 18. Yeah. And Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. And boy, those were simpler times. I mostly spend most of my time in the two-player mode, playing with my brother constantly. I don't usually spend much time in the single-player mode. Eventually I would finally complete it, but if there's one thing I will remember the game by, it's the two-player mode and the memories I made with it. And if I'm not playing any Sonic games, each Saturday, I tune in to watch some Sonic X. Despite what I think of the 4Kids version now. Back then, it's the show I'd look forward to watching the most, next to Ed, Edd n Eddy. For years throughout my childhood, I would wake up as early as I can each Saturday morning, just so I could watch Sonic X. And even though I don't consider it as good as I used to, I still value these memories deep inside me. And also there's the Japanese version, so there's that too. I was also given Sonic Mega Collection Plus for the PlayStation 2, where I have a taste of how the classic Sonic games were. Not to mention the covers for the Archie Sonic comics that I would eventually collect. And the next game I would get, Sonic Heroes, for the PlayStation 2, unfortunately. This is where I full-on became a Sonic fan, once I collect the games more and more. And the next ones would be Sonic the Hedgehog, which I believe was one of the first games that got me thinking about the rating system, since it was rated E for ages 10 and up. And I considered myself lucky for getting it while I was exactly 10 years old. And the next game that would go beyond the E rating for me would be Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. Yeah. Another game to note is Sonic Rush, one of the few Sonic games that I would finish next to Sonic CD, and also introduced me to one of my favorite characters, Blaze the Cat, also being one of the first Sonic games to introduce the boost mechanic. Something I never thought would be a reoccurring thing for the later Sonic games. 2006 would roll by though, and the next Sonic game, just called Sonic the Hedgehog, would promise to be one of the biggest Sonic events ever. And I really couldn't wait to get it, with the problem being I don't have a PlayStation 3 or an Xbox 360 with me at the time, and I was so frustrated. The best I could do was just watch like trailers or everyone else's videos on the game online, which would eventually get me to discover YouTube. And despite that, I'd be hopelessly oblivious on how the actual game turned out. But despite that, I would still continue to buy more Sonic games like Sonic and the Secret Rings, Sonic and the Black Knight, Sonic Unleashed, Sonic Colors. You get the gist of it. But if I'm honest, I would begin to not exactly finish the Sonic games I have. I plan to, it's just I tend to focus on other things during this time. But if there's one Sonic game that I definitely played through and through, it's Sonic Generations. Mostly due to the levels celebrating the entire Sonic history and the tight controls. It's still hard to believe that it's been 10 years since I finished this game. It also reminded me how much I have a lot to catch up on with each of the Sonic games I haven't yet finished. Which I still plan to, eventually. Now, as I mentioned before, I got into the Sonic Archie comics pretty early on in my teenhood. While I was checking my local comic store, I just so happened to find this issue lying around. And, you know, being a young Sonic fan, I was wondering what was going on. And it had a lot of characters I'd never really seen before from Sonic X or the games. So it was a very interesting experience. So much so considering I still have no idea about the different continuities, and didn't understand that this is supposed to be a completely different Sonic universe. I do find myself fortunate that I got into the series the way I did, because the Sonic Archie history has been a very confusing and roundabout kind of storyline that involves a lot of creative liberties and a lot of weird choices done by its writers. Campenders. It's only when Ian Flynn started to, bring focus back to the series. And if there's one thing that we Sonic fans take for granted, it's the lore building of Sonic Archie. It may not be perfect, but I mean, I feel like what it does well is making this world feel alive with all these characters and Mobians and factions and locations. We don't really get that anymore. And I have a feeling IDW is doing a little bit of a slow burn on this too, but I doubt it's going to be as memorable as what I saw in the comic issues, honestly. And if I'm honest, I have been getting a little more interested in the whole unique takes the Sonic Archie universe did, like the Chaos Emerald actually being, you know, Emerald Green and Ultrasonic. As we all know, Sega doesn't like change, so they basically forced the Archie company to make the comics a lot more in line with the games. And Ian Flynn tried his best. Like I said, he made things a little more straightened. However, they'd have to resort to a reboot. Now, that does sound like a bad thing, but as much as the pre-Genesis stuff is very interesting, I feel like the post-Genesis really gave us a definitive Sonic comic experience. And even though things got pretty confusing for a while, the new designs and the more game-accurate lore building really grew on me. It also made a lot of great stories out of this, such as Champions, where the Sonic has to go through a tournament arc of their own, and Spark of Life, where we get to see Nicole the AI Lynx's new origin. But it isn't always following the games. They even made their own version of the Sonic Unleashed storyline. So, combining the game universe with the pre-Genesis universe, and even some TV shows, I like to consider this the definitive Sonic universe in my opinion. While I was still in my Sonic X phase, I would discover Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog at a unique store. And obviously, it was a completely different take from the anime Sonic that I was used to. Not that I didn't mind, because I rather was entertained with this classic cartoon take on the Blue Blur. The VHS I would buy would contain 2 episodes, first one being the one where Sonic meets some sloths and gets hit by a slow-mo ray, and the second one where he meets the heroic Captain Rescue. I still consider those 2 my favorite, mostly out of nostalgia, but they're still fun watches. I also consider the 4-parter Chaos Emerald saga to be very memorable as well. I would eventually be aware of Sonic Sat AM, which also included the Freedom Fighter characters from the Archie comics that I read. I've also heard from many people that this was possibly one of the best Sonic cartoons. I could definitely see their point now. Back then, when I was a kid though, I didn't really see it. I personally found Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog to be a little more entertaining than Sad AM back then. I kinda still do, even though I do like Sad AM. It was probably because I see Sonic in general as more of an action kind of series, and Sad AM is mostly focused on story and characters than the action. And at the very least, Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog definitely has that energy to it, even though it's mostly focused on comedy. At the very least, it's high-paced comedy. But nowadays, I consider both shows of equal value. They both have their pros and cons, but most importantly, they both defined a generation for us American Sonic fans. Even if it was in an era that not all of us were a part of. I recall collecting DVDs of both shows and finding out something new about them. And then there's Sonic Underground. Yeah, Sonic Underground was a thing. I do recall getting a DVD that involved Knuckles and the Chaos Emerald, just like Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog had their own Chaos Emerald arc. That was probably the most memorable part of this show, other than the polarizing music. It was safe to say that this was the classic cartoon era, and would have been put to an end when Sonic X rolled by. But there was one more animation that bared the looks of classic Sonic. Now, how I got this DVD would be a bit of a blur, but I think I recall one of my grandmom's friends lent it to me while we were visiting her. I did recall watching it there, and just like Sad AM and Adventures, it also would be an interesting experience, with it being a vastly different Sonic world than I'm used to. And yet, also has a lot of all too familiar elements from the games, like the Sonic CD comparisons. But more than that, I just found it awesome just finally getting my hands on Sonic the Hedgehog the movie. That felt like the holy grail to me when I was a kid. Although granted, it's not exactly the movie because it was mostly just 2 pilot episodes for a Japanese anime that wasn't, like, made due to it underperforming. But on the plus side, I managed to get previews of both the Tekken motion picture and Neon Genesis Evangelion. Yep, discovered those 2 because of Sonic the Hedgehog. And then there was the TV show Sonic Boom. I recall watching it while it was still relatively new. Also, since it's a Sonic cartoon that was made in Cartoon Network, which, if I was still a young kid, that would have friggin' blew my mind, since Cartoon Network and Sonic were both one of the most important parts of my childhood. And they never really, like, made contact until recently. Now, there are some elements of the show that is rather amusing. It's not exactly like the Sonic cartoon that I was yearning for. I wanted something that's more in line with the Sonic X cartoon, more or less like a fun adventure, but I also want to take it a little more seriously and show characters actually progress their character rather than just be the same stereotypes that they started off in the first episode. That's not to say that I don't like what Sonic Boom's trying to do. A simple cartoon just to entertain kids, and it did its job, but even then I sort of feel like it kind of fell flat on certain parts. And we have to wait a little longer until a much more eventful Sonic event would happen in the Cartoon Network. And even then, it's only just for one time. And even though we're getting a new Sonic cartoon in Netflix, I would like to see another new Sonic cartoon show up in Cartoon Network in the future. After that OKKO crossover, I have a feeling they'll probably nail it the second time. As for the future of the series, well, it's safe to say that we're now living in a more hopeful age of the Sonic franchise. It all started thanks to a certain movie. Yeah, it's Sonic the Hedgehog the movie for real. I never really got the chance to talk about this, but here's a story. Before the whole pandemic changed things for everyone, me and my brother and my half-brothers, watched the movie all together in the theaters, and it was one of the more fun times we had. I was particularly glad that we managed to watch the movie together at that time. It was definitely an entertaining movie, and it was, at the very least, not as bad as pretty much every video game movie around. There might be a few exceptions, but I can't exactly think of one at the moment that's not Sonic the Hedgehog. It did give us a lot of hope for its sequel, but also a lot of worry. Mostly because, considering the new direction, of course, going on in this universe, pretty much it could go to any kind of direction. Luckily, this direction turns out to be the right one, because Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was excellent. And of course, I managed to watch it with all my brothers, just like the first one, to make this experience complete. I also never really had the chance to talk about it right after I saw it, but really, what is there to say? It's not just a really great movie, but it's also filled with a lot of Sonic love to it. A lot of references to the games, also given a lot of respectable moments for the characters that we love for years, and overall, makes us want to see more of this new universe and how it would influence the future. And by now, we're still waiting for the new Sonic cartoon named Sonic Prime. With it involving the multiverse, it's showing a lot of promise, and also a lot of high expectations. I'm really hoping it does really well, considering Sonic is in the middle of his hot streak after the movie's success. Moreover, also lead into a lot more Sonic media being made. And also the newest game, Sonic Frontiers. By now, it's finally showing off some gameplay, and it turns out it's gonna be not exactly your usual boost game, but rather an open world with some combat added in, which definitely intrigues me. I want to see how this goes, because we mostly see Sonic spin jump or home attack or spin dash his way against enemies, but I want to see something a little more dynamic now, kind of like how we see in the comics where he goes fist to fist against certain characters. Plus some new interesting moves Sonic has. I feel like this will definitely bring out a brand new, more ambitious era of Sonic games, which is very much welcomed. Especially after Sonic Forces, which I didn't exactly talk about in this video because, well, it was a game I played, and as much as I feel like I should talk about how important it was, and in the grand scheme of things it was, it just felt like it lacked soul. I guess the same can be said for a little bit of the IDW comics. I mean, it is good. Ian Flynn definitely made sure of it, and there are a lot of fans of it, but I guess it just comes down to how strict Sega is. The Archie Sonic series attracted a lot of fans, including myself, and it had a lot of stories in it. And even though I haven't experienced all of it, I could definitely feel its long history, and it definitely made the characters feel more alive and real with the amount of experiences they have and how different they were to not just their past selves, but more importantly, other versions of these characters. And I personally appreciate the differences of these characters while also keeping their core and ideal personalities. Because Even though RG Sonic's been through a lot more than most Sonics, he's still Sonic. And the same can be said for Fleetway and the games. But it's just seeing them going through these many trials over their lives, it makes things feel more exciting because, well, it's hard to explain. I'm pretty sure you all get it at this point. I'm a big sucker for the multiverse and how it brings out exciting stories and show how really unique our favorite version of these characters are. Not to mention old characters giving new spins to fit this new modern age that we're living in. And as much as making new and dynamic characters are great and all, I can't help but find more excitement in looking at an old character that's been out for a while and given a new spin, you know? Because the Sonic franchise is, like, that big. It has so much stuff in its history. A lot of stuff a lot of people don't know, and it definitely makes me feel like I've been a part of something really big and great. Like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or Transformers, or Power Rangers. Sonic has many fans, and a lot of them grown a lot of preferences. But what matters is that they enjoy the product and the characters themselves. I would want for Sega to ease up and introduce these versions of these characters back. Hell, I wouldn't mind them referencing Sonic Underground or whatever. I mean, I'm pretty sure someone out there enjoyed it back in the day. Sonic the Hedgehog as a character is never afraid to jump to the unknown or run into an uncertain adventure. But he's always been very sentimental when it comes to the friends that he's made over the past years. And if Sega follows all this, then I'm pretty sure the future will be a lot more brighter than ever. And that's the video. I've been wanting to make this for a while and a lot of stuff got in the way, but yeah, I feel like I've been talking about other stuff like Spider-Man and Ed, Edd n Eddy that I feel like this is long overdue, especially after the 30th and 31st anniversary passed me by. But I'm pretty sure all of you get that Sonic is that important to me. I would like to know what is your history of Sonic, and how important he and his other friends are to you. Thanks for watching, listening to me ramble and stutter a little. Hope you stick around, stay subscribed, give a like, comment, and have a good day. This is Dynamite X246, signing out.